Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to our not live feed, late night update, I guess, at this point, for Big Brother Canada 11. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here tonight on my own, or perhaps this morning. Good morning to you if you are listening to this in the morning, because it is roughly 1:30 a.m. Eastern time at this point. But I am here to update you on the second daily, digital daily, whatever they want to call it, drop for Big Brother Canada 11. It seemed like for a little while that we weren't going to get one at all. And then, as if they were college students turning in a book report, about 8 minutes before the deadline, they managed to drop in a digital daily on the daily basis. So I like I was a college student trying to cram for a test tomorrow morning. I slammed that down and I was like, you know what? I'm already ready. Let's just do this. We're good. So we're experimenting like they're experimenting. We have no idea when they're going to drop these things, and you don't know when these things might go live at this point. So again, make sure you're subscribed so that you know when they go live and that you have these podcasts or videos ready to go whenever you have them. But luckily, hopefully, this is a good thing for everyone, even if you weren't able to be here live, because it is quite late, obviously, for many of you. You may wake up in the morning to a fresh update. You don't even have to wait for it, and you can watch it or listen to it whenever you want. So let's talk about what we saw, because there is some stuff. There are some things to update you on based on what we are seeing in this second drop. I really, really don't want to call it a daily whatever. Let's talk through it. I think the plan right now is to just to run you through what we saw with the conversations. Fairly detailed. I want to try to give you a sense of like personalities and what the interactions are like, and then I'll kind of try to sum it up at the end, give you kind of some takeaways about like sort of what we're seeing here in the game. So let's start it up. We started the footage. I got to come up with a thing. I got to come up with what I'm going to call this. We started with Hope and JM, Hope and John Michael. Now, if you didn't remember or didn't watch the previous recap, my takeaway from the previous drop was that Santina as the HOH was going to nominate Dan Sabo for one of the nominations, and that Anika, or even perhaps Vanessa, but more likely Anika, would be the second nominee. And my guess was that she was planning to backdoor John Michael, JM. And that, of course, these guys were sticking together. They were kind of running things. That was what I was kind of getting from the previous drop. So we started this drop with Hope and JM. Hope is somebody that is in the Guys Alliance, working with them, but seems to be a bit of a wild card to a degree. They seem to be talking him down a lot. Hope is talking to JM, and they're kind of just talking about personal stuff. And Hope opens up to JM and shares, I want to share with you, I actually have a girlfriend. That's why I didn't kiss Shania. Apparently, there was an opportunity to kiss Shania that he turned down because he has a secret girlfriend. And Jam's like, oh, that's amazing. How long have you been together? So on and so forth. Not any real game talk here, but it's kind of a setup for a conversation that's about to happen in just a little bit. Santina ends up pulling Hope away, and then we don't see their conversation except for like the very tail end of it. And it seemed like it might have been something, but I don't know what it is. So we move on to Zach and Anika. Anika is talking to Zach in the pantry. Anika says that she can't get a read on Hope. Zach asks if Anika trusts him. Do you trust me? She says, yes. He says, believe me when I say you're good. Don't go around campaigning. You're fine. This is our first indication that Anika has in fact been nominated for eviction. This is going to be confirmed a couple more times throughout the footage. Zabo is in fact the other nominee. So that speculation came about. Anika and Zabo are now on the block, along with Renee, for losing the competition. So Zach is trying to give Anika advice for how to operate as a freshly nominated person. She says, well, I haven't really been campaigning. I've just had a couple of conversations. That's all. She says, Santina is telling me not to worry, but I know what anything can happen in this game. So I'm still kind of worried. Zach says, well, listen, Santina's HOH, and if she wants something to happen, it'll happen. If you catch my drift. His opinion, my opinion is, he says, we should keep all the good people in the house. And you're one of the good ones. I think that Santina sees you as an ally. Anika says, I hope so. You know, I feel like at first we didn't really connect. I'm not really, I kind of have a problem kissing ass, but I feel like we eventually connected a little bit. He says, exactly. Yeah. And listen, Anika, Zach tells her, I just want people to understand that just because there are big guys in the house, we all have muscles, whatever, doesn't mean we're working together. I know you don't think that, Anika, which is why I want to work with you. That's why I think you're a good person, because you don't think that the guys are working together. He says, a big brother, they put us all in the bedroom together. We didn't ask for that. That was not our call. So thank you so much to production for putting all the bros in the same bedroom. He says, listen, if you ever want to chat, I'm here. But don't chat with everyone. I mean, you can talk to people, but just don't tell them too much. You know what I mean? Okay. So Anika's on the block. Zach is trying to keep her calm because we suspect, and you probably caught it too, there's probably still something a little bit more going on at this point. Zach is going to go and talk to Hope. And Zach is giving Hope a bit of a pep talk, which is the same kind of talk that we saw Hope having the previous day with the bros. Zach says, Hope, your time is going to come. You just have to be patient. All right? You just have to be patient. Everybody has a role. You have a role. Your time is going to come when you can fulfill that role. My role, I know I'm the point guy. I know everyone likes me. That's going to make me a target. I had to do what I had to do to protect my bros. That's not how I wanted to play the game. It's a very dangerous game, but I'm doing what I got to do to protect you guys. You know what I mean? We have the right people. We just have to believe. We just have to believe in what we have. Hope says, okay, I know. It's just, like I said, Hope says, my goal is just to last long, with or without the grand prize. I just want to make a name for myself, I'm just worried I'm embarrassing my girl. Zach starts giving him a very corporate pep talk about aligning values with intention and moving with intentionality and making sure your words are lined up with your beliefs and, moving with confidence. And it sounded like, any PowerPoint you'd get in a corporation. But Hope is like, yeah, you know what? You're right. Zach says, I was actually told, and he says, I get it. It's stressful in here, but you don't want to look back and see that you wasted your time being stressed out. You know what I mean? That's you. Only you can take this opportunity away from you. Hope is like, I don't think that's how this game works. And he's like, no. It's not about that. It's just about, are you enjoying the experience? And believe me, because I get it. I get it. I was also having trouble the first couple of days. I thought, this is really hard. I don't want to do it. And even production told me that I looked tired. As he says this, you're not going to believe this. In our digital dailies that are 2 hours and 20 minutes long, that are, I assume, hand selected and not AI selected to be shown to us, we get a big ol' They're talking about production. So I guess the digital daily cut, because they don't know how to use the razor tool, I guess. Anyway. Hope says to Zach, listen, every time I talk to JM, I feel like he's good. Remember, Hope just came off of a good conversation with JM where he opened up to JM about having a girlfriend, right? So we find out Hope actually kind of likes JM. He tells Zach, JM's not coming for us. Zach says, well, he was, and it's too late for him now. Hope is like, but is it? Like, does it have to be? Zach says, you don't understand. He came to me day 2 and told me he would put all of you up on the block. Every single one of you, all 3 of you guys. This is what I'm having to deal with. You know what I mean? Hope is like, why would he do that? Zach is like, listen, this guy, day 2, he is creating this boys alliance in his head that doesn't exist. He's causing problems. I mean, yeah, we had said that we'd have each other's backs and we were working together, but he's just creating these things, causing problems for us. It's not good. We can't have this guy in the game. And then after he lost the competition, he tried to change it up and be like, no, I'm not going after the guys. It's too late. Hope is like, well, how does Santina feel about him? And Zach says, oh, don't worry. She sees him now. Implying that he is the cause of her seeing him. He's later going to more explicitly say to Daniel, yeah, I'm the reason Santina sees JM as a problem in this house. Hope sighs. Okay. Hope doesn't want JM to go, but Zach, he's in charge. Zach says, listen, you came here. You're going to have an opportunity to show people why you came here. You're going to make a name for yourself. Me, the reason I came here to show people my brain. I've got a special brain, Zach says, and I'm not making this up, I promise you. I've got a special brain, he says. I see things like nobody else does. Hope is like, yeah, you know what? I did think that you looked like Kevin without the glasses. And Zach says, whoa. Listen, the difference is that Kevin played this game with lies. You're going to see after this game, I don't play like that. I don't lie. That's not me. Then they start studying. Turns out part 2 of the HOH was played on day 3, in case that wasn't in the episode. So, again, this is, I'm trying to convey some personality that you may or may not have already felt was there. Next up, we're going to have a conversation between Renee and Rob. Renee, currently on the block because she lost the competition. Rob, of course, in this big guys alliance. Rob asks Renee who she would want out this week, ideally. Renee says, ideally, she would like Anika to be the one to leave. She just hasn't really talked with Anika, meaning she would rather, of course, herself stay safe, and she would also rather Dan Zabo stay safe. Anika is the one that she would like to go. She obviously does not know that there is a plan to backdoor JM. She says, worst case scenario, Anika pulls herself off the block. And Rob says, well, if she pulls herself off, you just have to hope that somebody else goes on. If you catch my drift. Nobody catches drifts in this house, by the way. I'm saying if you catch my drift, they're not getting it. She's like, yeah, I guess so. That would be terrible, though, because then me or Zabo would leave. He's like, not exactly what I was saying, but okay. He says, listen, so, okay, in the case that Anika wins, or let's say Ty wins on her behalf, You just have to hope somebody else goes up. If you catch my drift. She does not catch his drift. This is Renee that he's talking to. Renee says, I'd be so annoyed if he did that. Annoyed if who did that? If Ty did that. Because apparently, Ty told Renee that he is playing this veto for Anika and not Renee. And that if he wins it, he will use it on Anika. And Renee is annoyed about this. Because she, I assume, felt like she had an okay relationship with Ty. We'll get a little bit more into that in just a second. She asks Rob who he feels good about. Rob says, I like Hope. I like Big John, a.k.a. Jonathan. She says, I like Big John too. I think he's going to be loyal. He says, I also like Shania. Renee agrees. He says he likes Zach as well. He's smart. He says he'd like to get closer to Santina. The fact that she didn't nominate him is a good sign. Renee says, I think Santina likes you, Rob. I think you could use that and flirt it up a bit there. Okay, says Rob. He says, people are going to talk a lot more to Claudia as well because she is exempt, he says. Claudia is exempt. Now, this is an obvious indication that Claudia seems to have won the Canada Saves twist thing. Claudia is likely safe for the week, cannot go on the block. And Rob feels like her status as a safe person means that more people are going to go to her and kind of talk to her. She says, Renee says that she has talked to Claudia, but she's losing Claudia because Claudia is up Ty's you-know-what. More on that in a little bit. Rob asks about JM. How do you feel about JM? Renee says, I feel good about JM. I feel like I feel good with him. Rob asks, well, how does he feel about me? Has he said anything about me? And she says, no, he likes you. He's cool with you. It's like, oh, okay. All right. She says, the thing that's really on her mind is this conversation with Ty. She had this conversation with Ty earlier where he told her that he was playing veto for Anika. She got really frustrated with that. She's like, this guy, he expects me to tell him everything. And now he's telling me that he's going to use the veto on the person that it should be going home this week. And he blamed it on me like, oh, I told you should have been talking to more people. That's why I can't play the veto for you. She's done with it. She's super annoyed with Ty. He asks her how she feels about Zach. She says, well, I had a good talk with him. And he recommends that she lie low, not promise people things. Don't say too much, essentially. Let other people sink their own ships. Okay, that's Renee and Rob. In case you need a little bit of resetting here, Rob is working closely with Zach, Ty, Jonathan, and Hope. They are a seemingly 5-person guy group. They have Santina, the HOH, pretty firmly within their cause. And Rob, in particular, seems to be working on a thing with Renee, who he was just talking to, and Shania. And we heard a little bit of that from Renee and Shania yesterday as they were discussing potentially working with Rob, Jonathan, and maybe some others. And then on the flip side of things, it seems as though potentially, you have Ty working on Claudia. Renee says that Claudia is up Ty's you-know-what. Again, a little bit more on that later. But that is kind of the basics of all of that right now. But very soon, we're going to learn a little bit more. Because Ty is talking to Kuzi at first. He says to Kuzi that Hope is a vote for her. And I believe what he means by that, based on what he talks to Anika about, or Santina about in just a second, he means that Hope is a vote for Renee to stay. which is not what he wants. Kuzi asks Ty how close he is with Hope, and he says, well, I think Hope sees me as somebody that can give him advice. Santina ends up joining, and in front of Kuzi, Santina talks about slop, have-nots. Who is she going to pick for have-nots? She doesn't want to pick Ty. She doesn't really want to pick any of the boys because she wants the boys to stay strong. She needs them to stay strong. She says this right in front of Kuzi. Kuzi ends up leaving. And after she leaves, she says she feels she likes Kuzi, Santina, the HOH. Ty explains to Santina how he told Anika that he would use the veto on her. He's explaining that situation. She says she thinks that's the right move. Ty says that he thinks there might be some tension with Rob because Rob is close with Renee. And Rob will want Renee to stay over Anika. And that's not good. Ty doesn't like this. Santina says, well, listen, we can deal with that later if we need to. But for me, JM has crossed a line. I felt like he was somebody that I could bring in for his brains, but it's Anika that's the brains. Not, and you know what? Not Zach, not anybody made this decision for me but myself. JM. Oh boy. Ty says, and this is there's two people having different conversations. Santina's talking about JM and how she wants to target JM. Ty is talking about Rob and how it needs to be Renee that leaves and not Anika. So Ty says again that he expects resistance for Renee leaving. He says that Rob might resist and Hope might resist because Hope likes Renee as well. Santina says, well, listen, it's JM. He's the problem. He's the one making Hope all weird. We just got to get rid of JM. Santina says, and you know, everyone is always talking about going after the big guys. But, the way I see it, why not work with the big guys? And then just see who wins at the end, And Ty's like, yeah, great. But just so we're clear, it's JM that's the target. But if it's not JM, it's Renee and not Anika. And she says, sure. Great. He says he really trusts Santina and Zach, but he feels Rob, he's got his own clicks. He's not sure about that. He doesn't, he's in with Renee and with Shania, and he doesn't really know if they can trust Rob. And he says, but here's the thing. I don't want to diss Claudia, but I can use that showmance to benefit the guys, benefit us. I'm not a bad guy, Ty says, but I'm not here for a showmance. So if I need to use that, I can use that. Implying that there may be some kind of showmance-ish thing happening, maybe a fomance happening between himself and Claudia, which kind of aligns with what Renee was talking to Rob about, saying that, again, Claudia has her head up Ty's you-know-what. Ty now saying to Santina that he can use the showmance he has with Claudia to benefit the group. So, a potential showmance in the works. That's about the end of that conversation. Daniel is going to have a brief conversation with Zach. Daniel is telling Zach something about taking out big targets and how that other people might become targets. It's pretty vague, and we come in on it pretty late. Zach says, can you go to Santina about this? And Daniel says, for sure. You're my first real in, he says to Zach. Daniel, in this conversation, seems to be implying that he wants to work with Zach and Santina. And Zach is trying to get Daniel to go to Santina with that idea. And to sort of confirm that JM perhaps might need to be the target. Zach says to Daniel outright that you should go do it because I'm not going to lie, but I was the person who put it in Santina's head that JM was a very divisive player and that he was treating people wrong. So they break that up pretty quickly, but Daniel says, sure, I'll go to Santina with this. We get a brief bit of audio. I think this is Rob talking to Zach. It could also have been Rob talking to Jonathan or maybe some other guy. It may have also not been Rob at all, but I'm pretty sure it was Rob. I'm pretty sure this is just a quick explanation to Zach or somebody that Renee finally opened up to Rob about game and that he thinks that they can work with Renee and Shania. So Ty's worry that Rob is working closely with Renee and Shania is, true to a degree. But we don't yet know if Rob feels the same way in terms of like Ty and what Ty is up to. Right now, we just know that Ty has an issue with Rob. We do not know if Rob has an issue with Ty, or if he's looking elsewhere or anything like that. Finally, last conversation that is really meaningful here. Jonathan is going to have a conversation with Shania. He asks how she's feeling, and she says, well, I think we're in a good place. He agrees. She says, no alliances have officially been made yet in this house, which is fine. I'm sure that'll come down the line. Where are my fans of the game who know what they're doing to any degree? She feels good about the room, the bedroom, and she also feels good about Jonathan. She feels good about Renee. She feels good about Rob. She feels good about Ty, and she feels good about Zach. And she feels good about those people maybe coming together in some form or fashion. And Jonathan says, that's kind of what I'm hoping. Jonathan says, straight up, I like you, and I hope you'll go far in the game, Shania. She says, great, I like you too. I think I can trust you. She says, I was surprised about the idea of me, you, that Rob came to me about the idea of me, you, and Ty and him working together. But I'm stoked about it. So this is the confusing thing, right? Apparently, Rob approached Shania with the idea that we should maybe work with Jonathan and Ty. So it seems as though Rob does not have an issue with Ty, that Rob trusts Ty and maybe even wants to include him on this side alliance that he's working on. If anything, that is perhaps what has tipped Ty off to the fact that Rob has these other allies, and Ty doesn't like it. Ty has an issue with what Rob is doing, or at least that's what he's telling to Santina. So keep that in mind. Shania says she feels like it might be Anika that people decide to get rid of, which is a shame because she likes Anika. But as far as the game goes, that'd be okay with her. Jonathan agrees. Anika would be the target for him as well. Now, of course, Jonathan knows that the real target is JM, but this is the backup target for them right now, assuming Ty doesn't change things. So that's about what we got from this batch. There was a big old game of werewolf, whatever, that they played. That I can tell you that I did in fact skip through in order to make this happen. So I cannot tell you who won werewolf, but that was the game talk and all of that. I did also listen to some of the like personal conversations, but they were boring. I will tell you that. So basically, the main takeaways here, if you're just trying to hopefully get some kind of summary, is that Santina has nominated Zabo and Anika for eviction. They have joined Renee on the block. JM is her intended backdoor, but only the guys know this. Nobody else, and they haven't told anybody else, but they have definitely hinted that there's a backdoor target. There is potentially some one-sided, maybe, tension between Rob and Ty within this guy's faction. Because Ty doesn't like that Rob is connected with Renee and Shania and may have too much power on his own. Now, according to Ty, Renee is the backup target if JM ends up winning the veto or for whatever reason JM doesn't go up on the block. But Rob and perhaps Jonathan and perhaps the rest of that side alliance may want it to be Anika. And so if JM does win this veto somehow, or for whatever reason doesn't end up on the block, there could be some major infighting in order to see who goes between Renee and Anika on the block. Claudia seems to have won safety from Canada, and she is potentially in a showmance with Ty. The validity of this showmance, how real it is far from clear at this point, but that appears to perhaps be the case to some degree. But the big picture is that Zach does, in fact, seem to be in control of this house pretty firmly. Zach and his bros are running the show. Zach has indicated that he is the one that got Santina to target JM in the first place. She seems aware that people might think that, but he's pretty much going around saying, yeah, I put that idea in her head. And he also seems to pretty much just be the go-to. I mean, we see Anika talk to him. We haven't really heard from anyone other than Kuzi and Vanessa in that first conversation we heard yesterday about people really not trusting him. A lot of people see him as smart. Renee mentioned that he was like older and that, she thinks that he's like more mature, I guess. He's guys in the chat. He's got a special brain, okay? And he's here to show us that. Don't be doubting Zach. He's got that special brain. Okay? Sees things you can't see. So that's about what we've got. That's the update. I don't know if they have specifically drawn players yet. I didn't get any like real confirmation. Ty was definitely talking like he would be playing in the veto. But when Renee was talking to Rob about veto, he was still asking like, does the HOH compete? And she said no. And he didn't understand how people were drawn to compete. So that indicated to me that they haven't actually drawn for veto players yet, which would make sense in the timeline because I think this was yesterday, the 9th. Which would actually be 2 days ago if you're listening to this tomorrow morning or if you're on the East Coast right now. So the schedule is a little weird this week anyway, but it appears to me that veto players have not been drawn and that Ty really jumped the gun and told somebody that he was going to use the veto on them and pissed off Renee for potentially no reason at all. So that's about where we are. There's no indication for as to like when the next drop is going to happen. The first one happened at 8 p.m. Eastern. This one happened at 11:52 p.m. Eastern. So there's a decent chance that the next one will also drop at 11:50 something Eastern, or maybe it won't drop at all. We still don't know if we'll get any on the weekends at all. So I might be back tomorrow night. I might be back tomorrow morning. I might be back Monday. Or we might be back for the roundtable Monday night. I don't know. But that's what we know for now. I will say it's looking pretty dire for JM overall. The fact that there are already 3 people playing in the veto, if there are only 5 people playing total, that means only 2 more people are going to be drawn. I expect that nobody is going to be picking JM to play in the veto, which means that the chances of him being drawn to play are, again, very, very low. And I don't think anybody would not use the veto considering the hold that these guys have over the house in the first place. So I'd be surprised if JM survives the week at this point, but we will see. And that's, obviously based off of like 4 total hours of footage at this point. So thank you for joining me. If you would like to hang out, I'm going live all the time over there on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. I'll be watching episodes, hanging out, having a good time, playing some games. So come hang out with me over there. If you need a VPN, check out my Twitter at Armstrong Taran. The next officially scheduled podcast will be, in fact, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be doing the first stock watch of the season. Tuesday, we'll have an episode, and I'll be live on Twitch to watch it, and then afterward, we'll talk about it on the podcast. So check that out. I did also just talk to Hannah Chada about Survivor earlier today. It was a very fun time, so make sure you check that out as well. And I think that's about what we've got for you. The Last of Us finale happening very soon at this point. Great show. Tune in for that coverage over at Post Show Recaps. But yeah, that's what we got. We'll keep experimenting with timing and all of that stuff as we continue on. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see all of you next time.